Hello Steve. Hello Jill. It's time to game classy.
Yeah.
For what?
For using. For using
What are you going to turn into a pillow quilt?
shirts.
What shirt? What are you talking about?
You can take shirts and you can cut them up and you quilt them together and stuff them in their pillow.
That sounds like some Etsy ass bullshit.
I mean, yeah, lots of people make money doing stuff like that. So sure.
I love Etsy on these, but on the it's like Etsy's definitely the black and white cookie of the internet world.
That would not be a cost-effective method, by the way. If you were doing a bunch of like
Yeah.
the shirt of the day shirts, you would definitely lose money if you tried to make profit on it. Like those shirts are $10 each. So if it takes you 6 shirts, you're gonna know it's like $120 for this pillow. I mean, someone might buy it.
I mean, like the idea of Etsy, like there's like a lot of cool shit on Etsy, but
There's some great stuff on Etsy.
But most of the time, you end up just eating salad out of a mason jar that your wife made. That's what you usually end up
That's
with.
Pinterest.
Oh, whatever. It's all fucking the same.
It's not. Etsy's a store. Pinterest is the crafts idea.
Well, then you end up with like mason jar like wine glasses. How about that?
Hand-painted mason jars.
Yeah. Yeah, some bullshit like that. Like you sometimes get really cool shit. You're like, oh, that's really neat. I really wanted like a Super Mario hat that also turns into a helicopter. I don't fucking know. But
Super Mario beanie.
Super Mario beanie. And then at the same time, you're just like, this is bullshit. Some bullshit thing that my wife wants me to make now because it's on Etsy. That means you can make it. I'm like, no, that doesn't mean I can make it. No, all right, I'll make it.
Looks like we made it. Yeah, I've never had that. I've never had that issue.
Yeah. But you do have a King Solomon sword. So
A great sword.
A great sword. It's a great sword.
It's a great sword.
It's not just a good sword. It's a great sword.
It's a great sword.
It's not a bad.
It's better than good. It's great.
It's great. Oh god.
I actually think it's probably closer to a bastard sword than a hand and a half sword.
Is that what you got? Oh, okay. Is that what you got Nikki for Christmas? Is that her Christmas gift?
Sure.
Yeah,
Why not?
sure. What'd you get for Christmas? Anything good?
I got Fallout Monopoly. I mean, I wanted it. I asked for it.
Did you have you played it yet?
No, it isn't. It is still mint in box.
Oh, okay. So no flipping the table when the game goes 6 hours long.
That is mind-boggling to me. Monopoly is not a slow game. There's no way if you play with the actual rules that it should take that long ever.
I don't know.
That is impossible.
My mic keeps going limp. I'm sorry if you hear that noise. It's the conversation about Monopoly just lost its mic boner.
I mean, you can blame your MD on whatever you want.
I like how Nikki gets a sword and you get Monopoly.
Well, I mean, that's just what I asked for. So
yeah, it's well. And did she ask for the sword?
Uh-huh.
Oh, well, there you go. So the I was finding it funny because I actually had people over for like a game night over the Christmas holidays, and they were all like, "Oh, you have swords up on the wall." I'm like, I'm a nerd. Of course, I have swords. Every nerd has swords.
It's true.
At some point in their life. But I was asking if it's battle ready, but it is not battle ready. So you cannot fight off the hordes of Mongols with it.
I mean, I could. It would just take a lot more work than normal.
You're sitting there with like your kitchen knife sharpener.
Yeah.
You're like going over it over and over
How
and over
sharpen
again.
this thing now?
You're like Aragorn in Lord of the Rings, just sharpening your sword, singing about Beren and Luthien. Oh, yeah, however he fucking sings that. I don't know.
You should have just went for the easy. Yeah, no, I mean, I didn't really ask for anything because I don't, the holidays are like, I'm at the age where I'm sure you are, where if I want something, I just buy it.
Pretty much.
It's like, oh, what do you want? It's like, well, I already have Fallout 4, and that's something I would have asked for, but I already bought it.
Yeah.
There's no other video games out now that I want. So I was like, what is one thing that I want that I actually don't have? And I'm like, oh, there's a Fallout Monopoly. If you find that, I'll take it.
I actually just I rebought Shadows of Mordor on Steam because it was cheap on the Steam sale. So I've been replaying Shadows of Mordor because I'm like,
did you get the DLC?
I
DLC
did.
is real good.
It's pretty good. I mean, I
haven't played the Bright Lord yet. I'm still waiting on it.
I'm playing Bright Lord right now. I already played through Lord of the Hunt.
Okay,
so.
I started playing Elder Scrolls Online, so that's what I'm doing. It's good.
So tell me, what's it like back in 2006?
Elder Scrolls Online, that game came out at the...
I just always think of, like, when I hear Elder Scrolls, I think of, like, 2000s.
You should think of way earlier than that. Elder Scrolls started in, like, the early 90s.
Did it really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
There's been a fuck ton of those games. Yeah, there was the first one I think was Daggerfall, and then like
Daggerfall.
They made a bunch of them.
You never want that dagger to fall, especially point down. It'll just land and kill something.
Daggerfall is a city that has lots of political intrigue,
Ooh.
and there's rogues as well, murders, assassinations, crime.
Let me guess. You have to.
It's not just a clever name.
Let me guess. You have to go talk to people, and they send you on missions.
In Daggerfall,
Yeah.
I haven't played Daggerfall.
No.
What
is it?
In this one, like this was the Skyrim Oblivion, like that formula. It works a lot better in an MMO.
Yeah.
Because like it's already kind of got on the MMO.
That's exactly
feel.
what World of Warcraft stole from.
Yeah, but this one, one of the things that's sweet about playing this one that I didn't notice in Skyrim, like this game for an MMO anyway, like I mean it's just Skyrim, like it doesn't the combat Skyrim, except it's more interesting than Skyrim's combat because it actually has like AoEs on the ground and stuff and things for you to avoid and like roll and dodge and like blocking, like
Dodge.
Combat is interesting.
Yeah. Unlike World of Warcraft.
Right, where you just don't stand in the wrong spot and press your three buttons.
Press your 3 buttons, yeah. Oh god, there's a guy behind me! Quick, move slightly over.
Yeah, because like this one's like you can do like interrupt. Like every class can do an interrupt. So like if there's a mage casting a spell, you can run up to him and you can hit both shoulder buttons, and your guy does like a bash. If you have a shield, do like a shield bash, and it'll interrupt the spell they're casting. So like everyone can do that. Every class has a dodge. Everyone can block. Your block's just less effective. Like I'm playing a mage, so like I have a staff. So if I block, I take reduced damage, but it's still just a staff. So I still take
because it's a stick.
Right, it's a stick. So
versus King Solomon's sword
or a shield.
Yes.
So that's. But the thing I've been doing right now is there's a quest I just got, and like I played the game a little bit before, but I put it down to play some other stuff. And then now that I finished my first playthrough of Fallout 4, I'm just like, I'm gonna take a break from Fallout and play a different game. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna do this MMO, and like it's real fun. Because when the game first came out on PC, I was shitting all over it because it was ass. Like it was actually bad. And by the time I
I remember that. Yeah.
By the time it got to PS4, they made it good. So yay, I have the advantage. Like the very few times where you wait for the console port that is superior to the PC release.
Yeah.
But the PC version's good now because it's at the same level. But the quest I'm on right now is I'm hunting a treasure down, and unlike you've played the MMO where it says like go here and it puts a thing on your map.
Yeah.
And then go here or kill this, collect this. Of course there's those quests in this game because
that's every
that's an RPG. That's actually just an RPG staple of like games that have quests inside the quest. But in this one, I just got a quest where I'm hunting down a treasure, and the fucking prompt is like find the Southland Star. Like that's the fucking prompt, and I'm like, where the fuck is that? And like I'm looking at the map, and there's nowhere on the map, but there's a place called Southland, and I'm like going there, and I'm like fighting dudes there, and I'm like, where the fuck would a Southland Star be? I'm like, this is so weird. And I look and I see a lighthouse, and I'm like, I bet you that's the Southland Star. So I run into the lighthouse, I go up to the top, and it's like, you found the Southland Star. It's like, your next step, find the warrior. I'm like, fuck. So like, and because you have the thing that prompted the quest is a buried treasure chest, and inside the chest, instead of treasure, there was a poem. And it was this guy's like, the poem is his hints on how to get to his treasure. So if you follow the poem, if you read what it says and you follow it exactly, I'm going to be able to find it. So I'm going to read the poem again and find out where I need to go from the Southland Star to go find it. I thought that was pretty cool. And you can also find treasure maps in the game. And the treasure maps are, they're named after an area. So like there's Daggerfall in this game because like each game that Elder Scrolls has is usually like one spot,
one
the
area
world.
of the world. Yeah. Skyrim is the land of Skyrim.
Yes, there are Nords, and it's also in this game. This game contains everything. This game contains Morrowind, Skyrim, Daggerfall, like every.
Does it have those cat people?
Yeah, Khajiit.
Yes,
sure.
Yes, Khajiit has the wares if you have the coin.
Khajiit did nothing. You could not arrest Khajiit. So the treasure.
It's cat Arabs is essentially what they are.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Caribs.
Carib. The treasure maps are really cool. Like you can find them just randomly, and it'll have the name of where the area is, and when you use the item, it's just a picture.
Okay.
and it shows you things that are landmarks, and then it has an arrow pointing to where the treasure is. So you actually have to go in game and like see where that landmark could be, or if it's something you might have noticed, like oh, I know that fucking statue, like I know exactly where that is.
Yeah.
And you run back in, you're like, there's the statue, and you look at the map and you're like, okay, so if I go this way and I find it points to another landmark, and you're like, oh, here, you can just look around and there'll be a little prompt like, find it, and you can dig up the treasure, and you're like, oh fuck, sweet treasure.
Can you buy a new spade to help dig up your treasure?
You don't need to. There's no, as far as I found, there's no like crafting material items required.
Thank God.
There's ingredients, but there's no like tools. So like, for example, I was running around and I found an iron ore deposit thing, and I was like, I guess I'll just hit X, and like my dude just whips out a mining pick and just fucking does it. I'm like, okay, sweet.
I really hate crafting systems in games. It's like my new bane.
I like crafting systems. I don't like the add-on stuff for crafting systems. Like in I'll just use Warcraft because most people have played it. There's multiple things that suck about Warcraft's crafting system. One, you need to have an item or more than one item that specifically takes up space in your inventory to perform the crafting.
Yes.
And gathering is really bad too. Like if I'm a miner, I need to carry an axe, and they can break. So you need to get more axes or pickaxes.
Yeah,
they can break. You need to get more, and then the nodes. Like you have to be at a certain level of gathering to mine the node. It's like, oh yeah, sorry, that's titanium ore. You need to gain like 100 more skill points in your gathering to gain. So in Elder Scrolls, so far, I guess I'm only level like 7, so I'm not super deep. But so far, if I find a thing I can collect, I just push the button and it gives it to me.
Push button, get treat.
Yeah, push button, get thing. And then because everything's skills, just like in Skyrim, if you want to, you can invest your skill points into collecting. So like if I wanted to do a lot more mining, I could invest the skill point into mining, and it actually puts it on your map while you're running around.
But still, it's like too much busy work for me.
Well, I mean, you don't have to do it. I find
that's why I like Shadows of Mordor. My only skill is killing orcs.
Well, some people like the crafting. And stuff.
They do. They really do.
I'm a big fan.
I blame Etsy people.
I'm a big fan of cooking. I always like to do cooking in MMOs because I always find that cooking is something that is. There's always some reason that cooking is not super well. Practiced by everyone.
Yeah,
but cooking is
stupid.
But cooking is always in demand. Like in World of Warcraft, like you could get spots on guilds by just being a master chef. Like you could just be a master chef. You'd be like, yeah, I can make. I can make
your Gordon Ramsay dwarf.
They make feasts, and like in WoW, like the feast is your character puts it together, and then a like big pig appears, and then everyone in the raid can eat from it, and they get a buff that lasts for like 45 minutes. So it's super. But cooking is insanely tedious in WoW. In Skyrim, it's not. It's just like cooking in. Like that's the thing. Everything in this game is just like Skyrim. So if you like Skyrim, and if you like the way crafting works in Skyrim, and if you like the way leveling works in Skyrim, you will like this game.
Yeah, the only thing I didn't like about Skyrim was the fact that there's like no linear plot to it, and that was what kind of bothered me.
This game actually has a super linear plot.
Yeah,
it's got a super linear plot with a bunch of other quests.
Yeah.
So and thus far, the way the main quest has worked, it's been really cool because I did the main quest, and then like there's a character who's like, well, I need to do this thing. So while you're in town, take care of whatever you need to take care of, and I'll contact you when we need to go again. So I hit level 5, and then the character just like shows up, and he's like, hey, I'm done with the thing now. I need you to come help me. So like this one, it seemed, for now at least, it seems like the main plot pops back up periodically to like bring you back into the main story, and it's sensical, unlike in Skyrim or those other games where it's like you have to do this grandiose thing and you're just like wandering about. Most of the time you're like, I'm making daggers. This one, the story comes back to you, so I like that, and that's a cool idea on how to like give players freedom, but keep the story moving at a good pace. Where you just have, and I think you can actually rip that for if you were doing a big D&D campaign, you could easily have like a main story and then let your players dick around by making the main story come to them instead of the other way around.
No, I completely agree. That's a good way of doing it, especially if you're writing your own. Because if you just do the main story, it's gonna get boring.
Right. I mean, that and the other thing too is if you're doing a D&D campaign because you have a story you really want to tell, you should just write the book.
Yeah.
just write the book.
Write the screenplay.
Yeah,
so
write the screenplay.
You could have the World of Warcraft movie with the guy from Vikings.
That movie actually looks like it's gonna be pretty entertaining.
It does. I mean, I know people who are like, "This looks dumb." I'm like, it looks a lot like World of Warcraft. I'm not gonna argue.
It looks like it's gonna be entertaining. I'm down.
I love the guy from Vikings. I don't know. Do you watch that show?
Everyone's recommending I watch it. I haven't seen it yet. I'm not against it. I just haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, I was. I've spent a lot of time this Christmas break, like really catching up on a lot of TV, and I kind of blasted through all 3 seasons of Vikings. And it's pretty good, with the exception that like every season is like, oh, who's betraying Hrothgar this season? You know,
That's kind of annoying.
Oh, it gets really annoying. And Donal Logue shows up, and if anybody listens to Comic Book Logic, they know my disdain for Donal Logue.
I don't even know who that is.
You'll when you see him, you're like, oh, that's that guy.
The guy. He's one of those guys. He's like the Kurgan.
Kind of, yeah, like the Kurgan.
Like every time he shows up, you're like, oh, that's the
Kurgan. He's gonna hold his neck together. No, He's kind of like the henchman vampire in Blade, and that's how a lot of people know him.
Okay.
So, and that's how like we got on the topic on Comic Book Logic, because I'm like, goddamn, Donal Logue's in this movie.
You know, I'm super bad with actors and stuff. Like that, like remembering names, like directors and like actors and dudes who do the score. Usually, I'm really bad at that. I'm more invested into the fictional side of things.
Well, I mean, yeah.
You know,
I mean, I do have certain actors that I really, really enjoy.
Sure.
So.
I mean, and obviously there's like names everyone remembers, but you know, like there's people who like know, you know, they'll watch a movie
like Cliff Secord from The Rocketeer.
See, I mean, I didn't really like The Rocketeer, so.
Oh, how can you not like The Rocketeer?
I don't like The Rocketeer because The Rocketeer
is pure childhood for me.
The Rocketeer is a very disappointing movie.
It is.
Everything you want to happen in the movie doesn't.
Yeah.
Like, there's no Rocketeer flying around versus other jetpack Nazi battles. Like, because I watched King of the Rocket Men because my dad would have me watch. Like, I grew up watching serials, and like I grew up watching weird. Like my childhood growing up, minus like what I saw on, you know, TV, like cartoons.
WGN rain delays.
Did you say WGN rain delay? I don't even know.
That's where you'd watch like most of the crazy movies, because whenever there would be a Cubs game rain delay, they'd always put on like, all right, so we're gonna put on House 2. And be like, okay, time to watch House 2. All right. Hey, is that Bill Maher?
I have never. I was never into sports, even as a young person.
That's when you only had like 6 channels and you flip through and you'd be like, whoa, rain delay. That means there's gonna be a crazy movie on Channel 9.
Oh yeah.
Nice.
See, my cartoon watching was relegated entirely to after school and Saturday morning. I didn't really.
Oh, I always watch it, and like the early morning, like before school. That's when they'd always show like G.I. Joe and Transformers.
Oh, you know what? And before school, I forgot. There's before school,
and the Bozo Show, so you could watch the Buckets.
Yeah, but like after a certain amount of time, and then during the weekends, I didn't watch TV. I just played games or video games or whatever. So like I didn't watch like a shit ton of. Like I watched a lot of cartoons. That was pretty much all I watched. Like cartoons. That's it.
Yeah. No, I get it.
So, but I watched a ton of like weird serials and like old movies. Like I saw the movie Alien before I saw Star Wars.
Hmm.
So my first real sci-fi love has been always Alien.
Have you so do you want to talk about your Star Wars, about how you hate J.J. Abrams now?
Okay, so Star Wars is there's a
we'll keep this brief because we spent a lot of time on Star Wars lately.
There's a we didn't spend a lot of time on Star Wars lately.
We spent like 3 podcasts on Star Wars.
So whatever the everyone's talking about anyway. So everyone wants to hear. We're gonna pander. We're gonna pander.
Pander to the crowd.
So it's an emotional roller coaster. The new Star Wars movie.
It's an emotional roller coaster.
Like, so I really wanted to hate it.
Yes,
I really
as
wanted to hate it.
the fans of the podcast will tell.
Unfortunately, I can't say that I hate it.
Yeah.
I can say that the villains were fucking atrocious.
Yeah?
Kylo Ren is hot ass. I burst out into laughter when Kylo Ren took his helmet off in that movie. He's a terrible villain. Everything about him fucking sucks. He goes from being kind of interesting at the very beginning, the first scene where he's like kind of intimidating and he stops that plasma bolt without even looking.
Yeah.
Like, whoa, that guy seems like he means business. And then as soon as he takes his cloak off, you're like, oh, that guy's really like skinny and kind of weird looking, and his helmet kind of looks like a dick. And then
his helmet does kind of look like a dick.
And then he takes his helmet off, and it's like, it's over. And then his character is fucking terrible. The actor did his job. He didn't act badly, but the decisions that they chose for that character, every one of them is awful. Like every scene he's in from that like first scene, he gets worse and worse. Like I fucking hate him. He's a terrible, terrible character who could have been great.
Yeah,
He's just a drop ball.
I mean, I won't go as vehement as you. I thought his character was interesting, and I think that a lot of the decisions they made set up, and that was my big problem. You know, Kevin and I had like a huge discussion about this. The guy I do Comic Book Logic with, and we're contemplating putting it online, but we're like, nah, you know, so we just sat and we talked about. We went and saw Hateful Eight, and we got there about 2 hours early, so we had a lot of time to talk about stuff. We were talking about it. And one of my big problems, like we both like, yeah, it's a solid B movie. It's like a B, like a solid B.
I gave it a C.
Yeah.
Like, if we're doing the grades, I gave it a C.
Yeah.
Because the heroes were very entertaining.
Oh, I loved
Finn was great.
Yeah.
Finn. The reason Finn is an awesome character, like the way Finn worked in that movie, his story made no sense. It was completely out of control. Like, what the hell? But his acting and the way his character did his lines, awesome. And he does the rarest and coolest thing any character in fiction can do. He makes other characters even better,
yeah,
when they play off each other. Every character in that movie who has any interaction with Finn is better for it.
Yeah. Well,
except for fucking Phasma.
Oh, Phasma.
What the dude? It's like super Boba Fett. It's like they built like that's the only thing I really knew going into that movie. Like I was actually if I could say if I was excited about something, I was be like, I really like Gwendolyn Christie. Phasma does look really cool. I can't wait to see what Captain Phasma does in this film. And the answer is goddamn fucking nothing. 2 lines. That was like a huge blowout. I was like, this is fucking awful. Like, that was terrible.
Well,
Again, villains, bad.
But let me get part of the thing was that my biggest problem with the movie was that it was too much set up. Like, oh, this is going to be a trilogy. You know, like this is just the first part of a trilogy. Which I'm like, it doesn't have to be that. But why can't it just be a story? With a beginning and an end, and most of the plot lines resolved.
And here's the problem with that: if they intended it to be a setup picture, which it clearly is,
oh, absolutely.
Why is everything in that movie so fucking rushed?
Yeah. Oh my god. It's like the plot just keeps going and going and going. Now, granted, this is like these are not minor quibbles, but these are just quibbles. Like I enjoyed the movie overall, but the movie just moves and moves and moves. Like I would like. Slow down. Like my favorite parts of that movie are the parts where it just kind of stops for a little bit and just has some like small interaction. Like I love the beginning with Rey when she's on the planet and she's just like going to the like you see what she does. Like you see her daily struggle. I liked that. I was like, this makes the character interesting. Same thing, kind of with Finn in a lot of ways. Like. Yeah, the beginning part where, you know, he's the massacre and everything, and you could see he's going through...
But it's so weird. Like, I thought Finn, motivationally, I thought Finn was not buyable. I didn't buy his motivations at all because it seemed so... It was just too weird. Like, I didn't buy it. But I liked Finn as a character, like, overall. But his, like, background and his motivation stuff, I didn't... I like Poe.
Oh, Poe Dameron's like the best character in the entire series now.
Poe's pretty awesome. Like he's just and him and Finn's bromance also sweet.
Yeah, it's
like,
great.
I love that when Poe like they see him, he's like Finn sees him and like Poe sees BB-8, he just like runs over like he's like hugging BB-8 and I'm like, all right, BB-8 is awesome.
Yeah, so there you go. But I mean, it's like I get it, but my thing was just don't
slow down.
We don't have to. Well, my bigger problem was like we don't have to have this be this big setup. A New Hope was not a setup for a trilogy. It was one story.
It was a movie.
Yeah. This could have just been a movie, and we could have set up all these characters in this movie, and then maybe like the next one we can like there could be like this overarching plot like with Snoke and everything else or whatever have you.
Snooki.
Darth Snooki. Where we could have just dealt with that a little bit later. Like it could just be something that hovers over the entire series.
Too much of the movie was too fast, and they ripped too much from A New Hope to have that as an excuse. Like there's just the movie's it's a remake of A New Hope. Essentially, it's like
I mean a little bit, yeah.
Like I mean, there's like it's not scene for scene. Like characters are different. Like they don't, but there's a lot of like it starts on fucking Tatooine. Yeah, it's not Tatooine. It's fucking Tatooine. Then it goes to Endor. And then it ends on the Hoth Star.
Yeah, the Hoth Star.
Yeah,
I mean,
I don't because there's so many stories they could have riffed from and just like went off of. Why would you go with A New Hope? Like, and people are saying that's not fair. Like they're like, well, so what? It's not a. It's like that's a legitimate critique of a film. Like if it's a almost its pacing is totally different, but it's the same thing. It's like, hey, there's a rebellion for some reason, and then there's an empire again, and we have to destroy their super weapon. And how are we going to destroy the super weapon? I don't know. Just
throw X-wings at it.
We'll just shoot it. It'll blow up. Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, I mean, I did have problems. I was a little more. I'm a little more forgiving than you, just because I was. By the point where they got to like where it's just apes A New Hope, where it's like, oh, it's an X-wing assault against the Death Star. By that point, I was already like, I'm already sold on this movie. I don't really care at this point. Yeah, it's fine. It's like, oh yeah, guess what? They're gonna blow it up. Yay! And luckily, it wasn't like Finn hopping in an X-wing just like out of nowhere. Like they get Luke. They're like, all right, we're just going to give you an X-Wing. You could go ahead and fly. No problem.
They saved that moment for Rey versus Kylo Ren, because Rey is inexplicably awesome, which is funny because there's a line where Finn goes to Han, and this is a line that got a lot of laughs. I'm sure people laughed at it. He goes like, we'll use the Force.
Yeah,
and Han's like, that's not how it works.
No, you have to say it. That's not how the Force works.
And then immediately after that, when Rey is fighting Kylo Ren, that's exactly how the Force works.
Pretty much. I mean, there was some... I feel, but that's once again, it's like one of those things where it's like how the hell is she so good with this? I'm like, this is just set up for the rest of the series. They're not like trying to make this a self-contained story.
I mean, they can retcon any holes they left.
Yeah,
and they're gonna.
Yeah,
but that's I think that's lazy. I think like.
Oh, I completely agree. I think kind of lazy.
I think because yes, you can. This is one of the reasons I hate retconning, because I feel that retconning is actually just, for most cases, a bastion for people who are just lazy writers.
I don't think it's going to be retconning, but it's. I think what they did was
I don't know a better term to use, like error correcting, or just say error correction.
I don't even think it's error correction. I think my big problem is that it's not a self-contained movie, and that they're like, well, we don't have to go into this because we're going to go into this in Star Wars 8.
Yeah, see, that's a problem.
And I agree completely. I think that they need to just but that's why I kind of like the idea of what they're doing. The next one's Rogue One, where it's all about stealing the Death Star plans.
All I gotta say is, if Kyle Katarn is not in that movie,
he's not gonna be. What? Kyle Katarn is bullshit. He was a bullshit character in the expanded universe.
Kyle Katarn, the star of Dark Forces, thank you. He was critical. That was the reason he was involved in Star Wars. Yeah. Because he and the Bothans, he got the Death Star information and delivered it. Like, Kyle Katarn better be fucking in there.
Why? Oh my god! It's like, okay,
he doesn't need to be a main character. I just want someone to be like, this is Kyle Katarn. He has information, and like the dude hands it off. That's all I want.
What? No, I'm glad
there better be a bunch of Bothans.
I'm glad they got rid of all the expanded universe bullshit, because I guess what? I went back and reread Heir to the Empire, and I'm like, this book isn't really that good.
No, the Thrawn trilogy?
Oh god.
It is. You know why people remember the Thrawn trilogy fondly? Because it was the first, and everyone was very excited for it.
And it wasn't bad when it was written, but now that I'm rereading it, I'm like, well, and it's also bad that it wasn't, because I read it when I was like 12.
Right. Exactly.
I had fond memories when I was 12. Right. And I'm like,
there's a lot of things you can go back and ruin for yourself.
It's bad. And
the Thrawn trilogy is one of those things.
I have a feeling people are going to really give me shit over that. They're like, no, the Thrawn trilogy is awesome. No, it's not really.
I got your back on this one.
Yeah.
Plus it's Star Wars. I mean, I still don't like Star Wars.
Yeah. So, but I'm glad that you actually watched it and that you're like, okay, I see that it's not awful.
Much to my chagrin.
Yeah, much to your chagrin.
So yes, I will forever hate J.J. Abrams for that. Yeah. However, this has opened up a whole new world for me, because Star Wars fans are back to being glass-skinned babies.
Oh, they really are.
So now I can easily troll people by just telling them that the movie that they really liked is stupid. And they'll hear some of my points, and whether or not they'll openly agree with them, they'll be like, "Fuck, he's right," and then they'll have to defend it with tears in their eyes, and that's a gift.
I had like I still haven't. I've seen it 3 times now already, and I'm probably gonna end up seeing it a 4th. But I still don't know where I place it in like my ranking system, because out of the 4 movies, it's like it's gonna be somewhere between. Like, I can't really say if A New Hope, or if it's better than A New Hope, if it's not as good as A New Hope.
Empire, Hope, this one, Jedi.
Yeah, kind of.
And then the prequels are all in like a poop pile together.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm sorry. They're canon. They were not rewritten.
I don't know anything about these prequels. There's more Star Wars movies?
No.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, you know what?
From my point of view, the Jedi are evil.
I saw some of that. Have you seen that Darth Jar Jar fan theory? You know what the best thing to do to respond to that is just get the clip of Jar Jar looking at the thing's asshole and it farting in his face from the first movie, and just link him that clip. Just be like, there's your Sith Lord. He's getting something is farting directly into his fucking face.
Yeah, the biggest fallacy with that theory is the fact that you believe George Lucas had any forethought into...
I've got a new George Lucas thing instead of the power of myth.
Yeah. White slavery?
No, my new one is they're friends.
They're friends. Oh yeah, from the Dark Forces thing.
The Darth Maul game.
Yeah, the Darth Maul game.
Where he pushes Darth Talon and Darth Maul together, and he just goes, they're friends. But George, they're 200 years apart in the Star Wars storyline. That's okay, just make Darth Maul a clone. Actual George Lucas quotes. Yeah, if you were excited about a Star Wars game and it didn't release, I can almost guarantee that it's George Lucas's fault that it didn't come out. Well, they were doing a game about a sweet-ass custom character, made-up character for Bounty Hunter.
Yeah.
And it was called 1313. I'm sure people heard of it, and they're going to say, that's the Boba Fett game. And it only became the Boba Fett game because George Lucas was like, you should make this game about Boba Fett. So when they first debuted it, everyone thought it was going to be this big like secret reveal because all of the footage they showed didn't have Boba Fett in it. It's because all of the animations and everything they did for the character was with their original character, not Boba Fett, and they didn't have time to reskin or do a Boba Fett character model in time for that E3. So Lucas tanked that game.
Oh yeah, but now it's okay because he sold his children to white slavery. Did you see that?
No.
That was his latest. He was on Charlie Rose, and Charlie Rose was talking with him about the new movies and everything like that. And he was talking about it's really hard. It was like selling my children into white slavery.
Wow.
He was like, no, I was like selling my children into white slavery. I was just like, whoa, George.
They're friends.
Nah, whatever. So I mean, there you go. That will be the end of our Star Wars talk until probably Rogue One comes out or whatever. Is it Rogue One? Yeah, because that one looks good. And by the way, Hateful Eight was pretty good. Not the best Tarantino movie, not the worst. It's like dead center of the pack, maybe on a little bit on the lower end, but it's still a real fun movie. I don't know if you saw it yet.
I have not.
Because I know your dad sold Tarantino all the 70mm movie. Did he sell them the cameras or the projectors?
All the equipment.
All the equipment.
It's all the equipment for the stuff in Chicago.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, that was...
if you watch it at the Music Box or anywhere local, you were probably watching on something that I have touched.
Yeah.
There you go. We have a connection.
The funny thing is it didn't even really need to be on 70mm print. It was like... It all takes place in one room, which I enjoy because it kind of felt like you were all in one room with them. The 70mm kind of gave this enclosed feeling like you were in the room. But I was like, it didn't absolutely need this. But anyway, we spent a half hour talking about anything but gaming. So, we talked about...
butt gaming.
Butt gaming. Speaking of,
hey, I did have that shoehorned like D&D reference.
Yeah,
you
you did earlier.
With
yeah.
Elder Scrolls.
There was a comment on the YouTube page where a person was like, "How do you guys only have 100 subscribers on YouTube?" We don't really talk about like what we're supposed to talk about.
We don't have boobers.
We don't have. Yeah,
we don't have sweet tittens.
No.
Because if we did, we could just do a video cam of our boobs. And then we just get a bunch of horny boys subscribed.
So let's talk about the big news. It's a re-release. Something that hasn't been out in a long time. The Changeling 20th Anniversary Edition RPG. Finally. So you could play as the magical fairies.
Changeling is the weirdest of all of the White Wolf games.
Hold on just a second. All right, so Changeling. Sorry about that. I had to go pee-pees. Steve's eating a donut kind of like a duck right now.
Delicious.
So yeah, we're at the Changeling 20th Anniversary Edition. White Wolf's coming back, man. And now you get to be a fairy, or it's like an elf, right? Or like an elf fairy or magic sprite.
Ireland.
We get to be the Irish.
So it's like the fairy folk, sprites, leprechauns.
I get to be a leprechaun.
All that weird shit.
Oh, do we have any listeners in Ireland? Am I doing it right? No.
You know what? You kind of had it, but you're not. You're not going to. You also didn't mention potatoes enough.
The potatoes. My Irish
potato man.
My Irish accent's always based off of Tom Cruise in the movie Far and Away.
That movie's fucking awful.
It's so bad. But I would just, Elizabeth, we're gonna go to America and we're gonna start up a farm. Or Michael J. Fox in Back to the Future Part 3.
I had to watch that movie in school, Far and Away.
That's a terrible movie.
Yes, it is.
But yeah, that's changed. It's like I get vampire. I get vampire back in 1998. I get werewolf. Changeling. Do we really need Changeling?
Yeah, Changeling is the weirdest of all of the White Wolf
What was
games.
the one where was it Hunter? Was the one where you play the people who hunt?
Hunter is you play as humans.
Yes, that's
and you fight all of the supernatural.
That was
shit
the one that
in-
looked kind of cool to me.
Hunter is. I liked Hunter the most of all the White Wolf games because the problem I have with like vampire and werewolf and all that stuff is like it's so
The political intrigue.
it's not even sort of like I think
Why are werewolves debating politics?
werewolves don't debate politics.
I know.
Werewolves is the combat game.
Yeah.
But it's still like it's just weird. Like Vampire seems like a really great game you could play over email. Because
through correspondence,
right? Because
You
Vampire,
get your big quill, like dip, 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 dip.
really, because Vampire, when you're sitting around the table and like you're playing creatures that are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years old, and time is basically irrelevant to them.
Dear Calthrax,
There's no way.
it is a dark time for the Nosferatu,
There's no way to.
which is good for us because we like the dark.
Like, it's really hard to run that game, and it's really hard to play that game, but like correctly, so just, like the way it like the correct like the flavor of that game. Because if I'm playing
That
a
flavor?
if I'm playing I'm playing a 500-year-old vampire, right?
Yes.
Time is meaningless to me. So I'll just be
What
like,
is time? It is meaningless.
So I would just so if I can create a corporate takeover that in game time is going to take 40 years.
Yeah.
So like, what's the tangible reward for me as a player, unless we're going to be shooting forward in time,
Waffle
decades
tacos.
and decades and decades?
That's
Pentex. That's not a vampire. That's a product of the worm.
Okay. Sorry.
Let's meet the waffle taco. Sir, it's testing so well.
Every once in a while, I see the waffle taco and it makes me laugh. Let
The
them
Pentex
eat
executive with the waffle taco. Yeah, it's good. So like vampire is like super hard to, because the best way that you could really do vampire is if you're like to stay like to have the flavor correctly and make it easy to role play and run is you do caitiffs, which are like unclanned vampires, or you do like super young vampires. Like you guys were made vampires like 2 months ago.
You guys were made vampires back in 1998. It is you have to fight Wesley Snipes.
Sure, whatever. I mean, that's fine because I mean that gives people like because the instincts and the actions of people in like an RPG will generally align better with a younger vampire because like there's someone who now has a huge rush of power. They're like, holy fuck, dude, look at the things they can do. They're not, the other vampires are ancient and they don't do anything because they can like just mechanically your blood pool, which is like you drink blood, you get points added to your blood pool, and you spend that to use your abilities. The older you get as a vampire, the deeper your blood pool gets, so the less often you need to feed, and your abilities generally start costing less blood. So if you're a super old vampire, you need to feed on a human like once every like other year. Unless unless you have a huge fight and then you need to feed on people. But for the most part, you become lethargic. Like you just sit around, like, and you
become like Pearl from Blade.
yeah, you throw your puppet strings out. You throw your puppet strings out, and you try and manipulate things from behind the scenes, and like that's cool. That's a very awesome. Like it's cool to play that kind of like shadow game, but it's fucking boring.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. You're describing this to me, and I'm like, I have to come up with some way of making this interesting. Some way.
There's no way to make it interesting.
By the way, we rewatched the Blade trilogy for Comic Book Logic.
Yeah,
we did at least the first one. I've rewatched the second and third one, just because I was like, why not?
I've never seen the third one.
It's not really that great.
I like the second one, and the first one was okay.
The third one has its moments, but once again, it's not
That's
like
got Deadpool in it, right?
yeah, it's got Deadpool. His first of his comic book characters. But I gotta say that definitely the best character out of all of them is Pearl. So, and they kill her.
Vacuum. Yeah,
Someone's vacuuming upstairs.
yeah. Our new upstairs neighbors are nightmares.
Are they Armenian?
There's lots of them.
Oh, so they're Armenian, is what you're saying. We can make fun of the Armenians on this podcast.
I don't even know what an Armenian. Are they from Armenia?
Yes, small country.
Yeah, no, they're awful.
Yeah, all right, that works.
They're bad.
As James Brandt said, we're allowed to have a lot of white on white racism on this podcast. So
It's expected.
yes, it's expected.
No, so like, but with werewolf, it's a little more sensical because werewolf, you're in a pack, and there's a pack leader who's not a player character, who's like yo, bitches, you guys need to do this. And like,
It's Jason Momoa, isn't it? It's always Jason Momoa.
it could be Jason Momoa, I guess.
Jason Momoa is always the werewolf pack leader.
So there's like, there's a little bit more direction, and werewolves live a normal lifespan or like slightly longer than people. So you don't have that like Machiavellian, like I'm going to sit at this computer for 30 years and type out this code. Because that's the thing too. Like when you think about like what player characters can do or like what they want to do versus, like if I played a Nosferatu who was totally invested into like science and tech and stuff, I could like as one of my completely reasonable actions, I could be like, I'm going to expend my money, my resources to keep up to date with tech. I'm going to use my science, and I'm going to sit in my underground fortress, and I'm going to write out a piece of code that does insert this. And as the DM, you can't be like you're going to get fatigued. You need to go out and eat. So like there's so many things you need to do. There's nothing you can do to stop the player's action and make it not just like I'm the DM. I don't want you to do that.
Yeah.
Because they're infinite. They're fucking immortal. So, but most people who played Vampire. That never really came up because most people they're just like, I'm gonna kill that guy. Yeah, it's like, yeah. Is there a hot chick there? Yes. I'm gonna drink her blood.
Drink her blood. No, actually, so you can go ahead on Kickstarter and I think it's already at like over 5,000.
Yeah, Changeling I never played, so I couldn't give a. I'm sorry I couldn't.
548%.
I'm sorry I couldn't get deep in on Changeling because I played every other White Wolf game except for Changeling.
Did you play?
Just too weird.
Did you play Mummy?
Yeah, I played Mummy.
Mummy.
Mummy was cool.
Mummy the Rappening.
Well, Mummy was cool because you played as reincarnated pharaohs and shit.
You just played it as Mummies Alive.
Well, I mean, they're coming from the Frisco Bay. They're going to save the world today. The Mummy's alive. No,
that's a throwback.
I played as a boxer and
a boxing mummy.
Well, because you play as there's a whole way to build your character to pass on like the legacy traits of your ancestor. It's pretty cool, but I freaked out during a boxing match and like powered up and like punched the head off a dude. And
you don't watch the WB shows. You don't watch like Flash or Arrow or anything like that.
No,
because they just introduced Hawkman and Hawkgirl, and they have that where they relive their past lives and starts off with them in ancient Egypt, and you see like the most incredibly white people ever in ancient Egypt, like more than Gods of Egypt or whatever that movie is called. Like these two incredibly white people, like oh, we're in love.
Who's directing it? Ridley Scott?
No, who's directing that?
No, Ridley Scott directed the other movie where all of the people who shouldn't be white were white.
Yeah, King. That was the Moses one, right?
Yeah.
No, this is the.
This one's the one with the CG shit. Like
Yeah,
the alien stuff.
I can't remember who's directing it though.
I don't know.
It's some. God,
I thought it looked like a pretty decent action movie.
it looks silly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, most action movies are.
There
There are very few action movies that are Die Hard. And the sooner you can be an action movie fan and realize that there are not many movies like Die Hard,
yeah,
you could be okay. There's a lot of movies that are ripoffs of Die Hard,
like Die Hard 2,
Under Siege 2.
Don't talk bad about Under Siege. Under Siege is an amazing movie.
It's not.
It's not Die Hard, but
that is not a complaint about Under Siege. I like both Under Sieges. In the train one as well.
And Under Siege 2, Dark Territory.
Yeah, Dark Territory, the train. But they're still Die Hard.
Yeah,
except Steven Seagal is the thing that made Die Hard a lot cooler is that
Bruce Willis was just an everyman. I'm just here.
He's not an everyman. He's a cop.
Yeah.
He's a detective.
I'm just a detective. I'm
Detective John McClane, which means he is a veteran police officer. So he's not exactly an everyman, but he's not fucking Steven Seagal who's like, I've killed 375 people with my bare hand. I kind of sound like Marlon Brando, and I don't know why.
You gonna eat that donut? I don't get paid a lot. Yeah. Ever since I cut off my ponytail. No, I love Under Siege because it's one of the few times when you actually get to see Gary Busey being a good villain outside of like, what was it, 48 Hours, or what was the other one? He was the big one that Gary Busey was in. I think it was
Predator 2. I mean, he is definitely a villain.
He
in Predator 2.
He is a villain in Predator 2. Oh man, we need more movies with Danny Glover.
Not too old for this shit.
Yes.
Hey, Danny Glover made the first Saw pretty good.
He did. Actually, no. I hate that movie.
You didn't like the first Saw?
No,
I thought the first Saw
not
was
at
pretty
all.
good.
But the big game that I was talking about before we got into the tangent about Changeling, where you were like, "Wait a second, I have views on Changeling."
Well, mostly just White Wolf, and I talked more about Vampire than Changeling.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I know nothing about Changeling. There's gonna be some fucking Changeling fan who just like rips me a new one on the Facebook.
If I had me pot of gold,
Heart to turn. I got me pot of potatoes.
But yeah, the
Speaking of Die Hard,
what do we got? What do we got?
Merry Christmas.
nice.
You actually did get Die Hard on Blu-ray delivered right as we were talking about Die Hard.
See?
That's very weird. I don't know how I feel about this.
Thank you, Amazon.
But I was like, the big release was Games Workshop with their new imprint, their Specialist Games re-imprinting of Specialist Games.
Blurburl!
The game that's come out now 15 years too late.
Blurburl!
I don't know when was
my comment on it. Was $300, limited edition.
$300?
No. I'm making this up.
Oh, okay.
$300, limited edition, 2 incomplete teams. That's the contents.
That sounds about right. No, they're re-releasing Blood Bowl, which is not shocking because it's probably the easiest game that they could possibly release for Specials games.
Mordheim would probably be easier if they didn't do the Mordheim terrain.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. It's like you literally have to do nothing for Blood Bowl. It's a board and like 8 minis or however, but like 12 minis probably. It's ridiculous. There's nothing else you have to do with it. You're like, you have to print out some cards so you know how to tackle with your orcs.
Well, the thing that's probably pretty decent for some people will probably be that they can now play Games Workshop stores again.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, but then play what? There's like Games Workshop stores are all like 12 by 12. There's like no room in any of them.
I mean, I'm sure there's 2 people who could play Blood Bowl against one another.
Yeah, the only 2 Blood Bowl players left.
See, there you go.
The game comes out 10 years too late because after they stopped the last edition, every other gaming company on the planet releases their own sports ball game, and I was like, people are this is going to draw people back to play Blood Bowl? No, probably not.
People buy it.
Yeah, well, people buy anything,
which is the only thing that the Games Workshop gives a fuck about. So.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
So they've already won.
My favorite is like I do not troll, but I do trawl a couple specialist forums and stuff like that.
You said it right the first time.
No, I don't troll. I trawl. I go through them. I kind of search, and everyone's like, "You think they're gonna re-release Mordheim? You think they're gonna re-release Warmaster?" No.
Yeah, the only way they're going to redo Warmaster is, like I said, if it's a boxed game.
Yeah,
they basically do Battle of the 5 Armies except Warmaster.
They're not going to do that because that's not the IP anymore. That's not what they're doing. They're getting rid of all of that.
But they might re-release Battle of 5 Armies.
They might re-release Battle.
I think that's pretty reasonable.
Yeah, that might be that's on the low end possibility.
Also, how did you feel about Smaug being the number 1 Games Workshop model?
You know why? Because you're the only person who bought it.
Actually, Smaug is. I actually had to buy mine on eBay.
Yeah.
Which I got which is sweet because I paid a little less. I paid a little less than I would have paid at Workshop.
Yeah.
But not much less. Because
Games Workshop is highly collectible.
Smaug was fucking sold out.
Lord of the Rings is highly collectible.
Because Smaug was fucking sold out every time I tried to get it from Workshop.
Dude, do you remember when Forge World used to do the Amon Hen or whatever that train piece?
Oh yeah,
that was never in stock. It would always sell out.
Yep, people would just fucking buy it like crazy.
It was a nice piece of terrain.
Yeah, I think I guess like we've said before, even Lord of the Rings models have always been nice,
and highly collectible.
They're extraordinarily collectible. But
I actually when I had some people over for the game night, they got to see, like, you've seen my insane collection of nonsense, like all of my stuff, and
you're garbage.
You didn't even you only saw like a quarter of it because most of it was underneath my in my crawl space in big boxes. So Tim Lyson goes, "Oh, what's these figures?" I go, "Oh, those are Clan War figures," and they're like painting my case. He goes, "Oh, do you have any extra for just so I can pick a few out?" I'm like, "Sure." So I go into my crawl space and I pull out 8 totes worth of Clan War. He's like, I don't even know what to go through with this stuff. And he's like, "What about your Lord of the Rings stuff?" And I pull out my 3 totes worth of Lord of the Rings stuff. So I did re-go through them, and I found that I did have some medals that probably will go for quite a few amount of money yet. Quite a few monies on
just let me know. I'll let you know if they're rare ones. Because there's medals that go for a lot, and then there's some that are like
I have
average.
The ones that I saw that go for a decent amount are they're the metal Men of Gondor, but they're not the Men of Gondor. They're the
Fountain Guard or whatever.
No. They're like they have the seer guy though and the king.
The Dolemroth Knights.
No, they look more like veterans. They have like this like band around their top of their heads.
The Osgiliath veterans.
No, they're not Osgiliath. I can't remember the names of them though. They're come with like Melibeth the seer and like this king dude. They're pretty rare. I was looking them up online. Are
they the ancient dudes?
No.
Okay.
No. These are newer guys. God, I wish I could remember the name for you. But yeah, they're pretty rare. I got like a I got like 10 of them. No, I have 16 because I have enough to make 2 little things of them, or however many.
Do you have any War of the Ring bases?
I do. I casted those years ago. I have I have the mold. So
excellent.
Yes,
I'll need some of those from you.
But yeah, so because when they stopped making those and I was still playing War of the Ring, I was like, fuck this. I'm just gonna make my own. This is way too expensive.
Because I found there's MDF ones, but the site I really wanted to get the MDF ones from is in the UK.
Yeah.
So I will get my anus obliterated via shipping.
Shipping's not terrible right now, but
it's wood.
Yeah, I guess
it's gonna be heavy.
It's gonna be heavy.
Because I don't do because at that point, because I'm importing it. There's no way I would buy a few at a time. I would just be like, I'm buying enough for 7 armies.
I fucking wish Games Workshop, since they did re-up their contract for Lord of the Rings, I'm sure they got a deal on it. There's no way they would have re-upped that contract if they didn't get a deal on it.
I mean, there's probably some sort of incentive for it, or it's not as much as everyone thinks it is.
Yeah, well, I mean, now probably because the Lord of the Rings and Hobbit have gone down in, not popularity, but they've gone, at least in public notoriety or whatever. I really wish they
everything's been fucking absolutely obliterated by fucking Star Wars.
Yeah, I really wish they would do like a Shadows of Mordor style game.
That'd be fucking sweet.
That'd be so cool. Especially like if they did orcs that kind of look like the orcs that they designed for the game, because those orcs, like, in replaying the game, I'm just like, these orcs are the best designed orcs I've ever seen.
They've got those, and some of them have that sweet like tower helmet.
Yes,
with
the flames on the top.
Yeah, Shadow of Mordor is fucking awesome.
It's the
if you haven't played, if you're a fan of Lord of the Rings and you haven't played that game, you should play it. It's really really good.
I mean, and it would be great, like ghouls and Karagoths and what's the big one called, I
can't remember.
The Graugs. Like a big fucking like Rancor Graug, and
the
those
things are sick.
are cool. The elves are cool. Like, fucking do warbands of that shit, and I would buy that. Like, and I've been playing Saga a little bit too. Is that if you designed a Lord of the Rings game around the Saga rules, and you would of course use the Saga rules, but like that size of a game, that's like perfect. 100%. That's what I would want to play. I would play that hands down. That'd be great. But there's nothing like that, and my big problem with Saga is like I really, really hate 90% of Viking figures out there. They're just dudes in potato sacks. That's all they fucking are.
They're in potato sacks.
Oh, yes, we're the Irish. We got the potato sacks on. Oh, so what's the difference between the Angles and the Saxons?
We got brown potato sacks. They got gray potato sacks.
Yeah, pretty much. It's like, oh, this guy's got like... He's got like a gray sack outfit on. This guy's got a blue sack outfit on. I've heard stupid,
really good things about the Saga rule set. And I was like, oh, maybe that'll be cool. But when I looked at it, I was like, oh, it's historical. Who gives a shit? And because I thought, when I heard Saga, I thought of that one game that uses the really weird-sided dice. It's like Seventh Seal or...
Oh, no, 7 TV.
No.
7 TV? Are you sure it's not 7 TV?
I don't think it is. I can't remember the name. Fuck. It's a warbands game that uses, like, there's like D30s are a dice you can roll in it. It's really weird.
Frostgrave uses D20s.
I thought that was well, it's not just D30s. It's a bunch of dice. Like, your guys rolled it like D&D style. Like, so there's D4s and shit like that. I can't remember what the fuck it's called, but I thought that game's minis was for Saga. And I was like, oh, maybe that's a cool fantasy game. And I looked and I was like, oh, that's not the game at all I thought it was. Maybe some listener will point me out and tell me which game uses the weird ass.
Okay, first of all, I'm gonna lay out some problems with Saga right now. Aside from just the historical part,
I've never played it.
Yeah. Okay, here's the problems with it. Number one, the rules are fucking unbelievably expensive for what you're paying for what you're getting. Like, the rule book is literally 30 pages long, and it costs $60 to get the rule set.
Wow, that's workshop pricing.
It's unbelievable. And when I say it's 30 pages long, about 2 pages of that is actual rules. It's ridiculous. It's the most ridiculous. And then it has
it's not the most, because Age of Sigmar is the most. $75 for 4 pages rules.
Yeah. And then every other expansion rule set comes out for it, $30, and it's like you get rules for like 3 warbands. The reason why it's expensive is it comes with these the boards, and the boards tell you what the dice do. So like, okay, I'm playing the Vikings. The Viking board is like a nice piece of laminated board that you put down, and it's got like the dice combinations. Like when you roll the dice, you could put them into the combination.
Okay.
Just so you could see. But you don't even fucking need that. You really don't. You could just, it's a sheet of paper from my book. I could just photocopy it and use this. It doesn't have to be that expensive. And so I'm like, that's the reason why that game is super pirated, is because the rules are unbelievably expensive for it. 2, as I said, I don't want to paint guys in sackcloths. I don't. It's boring. It's stupid looking. I want to paint some like cool ass looking Vikings with like fucking. It doesn't have to be super historical. We can make this so it's not historical. You don't have to play the historical Yams Vikings or whatever. You could just fucking give them horn helmets, give them fucking giant axes and crazy beards and like skulls and stuff hanging all over them. Give me some Games Workshop style Vikings or some shit like that, so I have something interesting to paint for a change. And the third thing is that it's kind of just like everything is exactly the same. It's like, oh, I'm playing the Normans, and they're different from the Vikings because these guys get horsies.
That was my biggest problem with Warhammer Ancients. Like Warhammer Ancients was far more balanced than Warhammer 6th edition because there was no fear and there was no immunopsychology and that kind of stuff. But it also, in exchange for that balance, you played the same armies against the same armies.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like,
oh, I get to be the Romans. Oh, fun. I get to paint 5,000 fucking legionnaires.
Yeah, I don't like the...
Boring.
Yeah, it takes out, you don't... There can be diversity, but it doesn't have to be, like, broken. You know? Like, that was Warhammer... That was always Warhammer's problem. It's like, they would come up with things that were cool or unique, and then they would break it. And it's like, oh, okay, so it's actually, it was busted. And then to sell more of the next version of the book, they'd have to make something better or some aspect better. Like the Storm of Chaos sold buckets of ducats because every army listed in there was broke. And if you had an army that could, like if you had a dwarf army and you had a bunch of slayers, that book encouraged you to buy a fuck ton more slayers and make a slayer list. Or
especially because they were all metals.
Right. And then like Lothar and Seaguard, like same difference. Like you should play a Seaguard army because it's just better than the High Elves.
So you just get bow bits and stick them on the back of my spearman? Okay.
Well, the plastic High Elves could always be built as Seaguard, from what I understand. Because instead of you build them.
Well, they had their giant ham hands,
right? Because you build them with the ham hand, the fist as big as their head, spear, the shield, and then you just put the bowman thing on the back.
Yeah,
and those are your Seaguard. But the Seaguard were way better than the regular elf army because you get a fucking whole round of shooting before the game fucking starts. Insane. And then of course the Chaos Demons.
Yeah,
the Chaos Demons were. I still stand that the Chaos Demons were meant to sell bits. Like, the entire reason they came up with the Chaos Demons army was so people would buy bits. Because at the time they did that list, the only things available for the demons were Plague Bearer infantry, Khorne Bloodletter infantry, Slaanesh Demonette infantry, Pink Horrors, Flamers, and then... Screamers, and then Greater Demons.
Yeah, you're right.
And then there was nothing else at the time.
There was the Seekers too, the Seekers of Slaanesh.
I think they came out with it. The ones that are riding.
No, they didn't.
The tongue things.
No, the horsies, the pinky horsies.
The demons
those,
and the weird
those
horses.
came out beforehand because that was the first army I did when I started working for Workshop.
And then of course then there was the various Chaos Lords on mounts like the Booby Snake, etc. And then
the Booby Snake.
But like most of the army were not available. Like Juggernauts were like the old Juggernauts.
You had to buy the
available.
bits, yeah.
You had to buy the bits,
which I did.
The riders, the Plague Riders, like you had to figure out how to build that on your own.
Well, they had the old beasts, the old plague beasts.
Right, but there was no riders.
There was no riders. You had to like convert it.
Yeah, you had to figure it out on your own. And then then the chariots, like the Tzeentch chariots and stuff.
Yeah.
You had to build that. Most people built those out of disc riders and like screamers and shit. Like that was a conversion heavy army.
And you were able to do that though because they had bits.
Right, because they had bits.
And you could order bits. But anyway, actually a game that I was looking into that I kind of like is called Lion Rampant. It's one of the Osprey rule sets, which are it's not very well written, but it's a kind of a neat little idea. It's very similar to Saga without the wonky dice rule.
Okay.
The wonky dice rule is really what sells it for Saga because it's something different. This takes that out of it. It's Saga without that. But they just released a fantasy version of it called Dragon Rampant, which I kind of like the rule set for. It's small. It's like playing a game of fantasy with Lord of the Rings size armies.
Warbands?
Yeah, like a warband instead. But it's bigger than a warband. It's bigger than just like 10 models. It's probably close to like 30 models. But that's all you have to have for your army. And it looks pretty cool. I'm interested in giving that a try.
Have you played Wrath of Kings yet?
I have not played Wrath of Kings yet. I really want to.
You should. It's good.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I have played it, but I haven't like gotten like regular into it.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for some more of the. There's still some more releases that I need, like the characters and stuff.
I need some characters.
I need the characters.
Well, the new rules expansion came out, right?
Not
Or
that I'm aware of.
Not yet. The one that's going to have like the Bretonians, the
Oh,
Lizardmen.
that's Kings of War.
Oh, Wrath of Kings.
Wrath of
No,
Kings
I have
is
not
the,
played. Okay.
Wrath of Kings is the circle base.
Okay, yes, I have played that one, but no, I have
Big
not.
Thigh Girls.
I have not played too much of that either, but I have my army.
Very good.
Yes.
Yeah.
With all that, I have my vampires.
Yeah, that's the next thing I'm gonna finish. I'm gonna finish the Wrath of King stuff.
Wrath of Kings.
I've been derelict in my hobby duties.
But they're doing. I think they're doing an expansion for that, aren't they? Like another rulebook.
Not at the moment. They still need to complete all. They still need to release all the models from the core rules.
That's cool. Well, whatever. So do we have any other news to talk about? I know that there's a Kickstarter for 3D printed terrain that looks pretty cool. Let me see if I can pull it up. Here we go.
Is that modular castle thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, that looks pretty sick.
Yeah, Winterdale, a medieval fantasy citadel collection for 28 millimeter. I believe it's 3D printed. Yeah, it's kind of expensive though.
Do you buy the models or do you buy the actual 3D printed objects?
Oh no, I think you. That could be customized.
Because if it's buying the 3D printed objects, then that's okay. But if it's the models, then that's it's probably
Okay. Yeah.
price.
You get each model is delivered as a .stl file pack to be downloaded and printed on your home 3D printer.
There you go.
Yeah. So I mean, it's actually pretty nice. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. If you have a 3D printer at home, do this because why not? All these look pretty cool. I think for $75 you get all of the stuff, all the files
For an unlimited castle.
Yeah,
Seems like a good deal.
but I mean, how many people really need a castle, like a full castle?
I mean, I would love one. That'd be sweet. If it's modular enough, you
Yeah.
can do whatever you want with it.
Yeah.
And then you're 3D printing it, so you can be like, I think you can. I mean, I know nothing about 3D printing, but I do know CAD, and if you can modify that, I mean, no CAD. Nobody called me out on that. Like, I'm aware of what CAD does.
I was gonna say, like, you're aware of CAD.
Yeah. But you should be able to scale up or scale down that model as well. So if you play War Master, you can just reduce the size and print out smaller castles. I'd be like, bam, War Master, done.
War Master. I have a War Master castle.
So like, I mean, I think that's the future by far. Like that 3D printing is definitely the future of the hobby. Like it's going to go that way.
Especially with stuff like terrain.
I still think that there's going to be a market. There's always going to be a market for games that are you buy it, you get the content in the game. That's not going away until 3D printers are as ubiquitous as cell phones. That's the only time you would need to worry about like that kind of game going away.
At that point, we have to worry about a lot of other businesses going away as well.
Exactly. So there's that, but I think it's the future, and I think the ability to sell a printable game they killed, quote unquote, the RPG industry. PDFs.
Yeah.
So this will kill, quote unquote, the miniatures industry. But like that being said, the RPG market is a smaller share, but with D&D 5th edition launching, there's been a huge boom in the RPG like market share.
Yeah.
Gigantic boom because the product is high quality, and I've sold everyone has sold a fuck ton of the D&D books. A fuck ton. And I guarantee those are the most pirated books. But you know what? It doesn't matter. We're still selling a fuck ton of them.
Yeah, because people want to have the book.
Right. So if you're producing a rule set, so this is the advantage here. Instead of being super doom and gloom, the advantage from a producer side, like say me, like I want to design, like I've been dicking around trying to design my own games for years. Like I've been working on different systems, things like that, and then like as almost always, I will work on something and I'll be like, oh, this is a brilliant fucking idea, and then I'll start Googling to see if anyone else came up with those mechanics, and sure enough, it's just parallel thinking, and I'm like, fuck, someone's already beat me to the punch. The Shadows of the Demon Lord, that RPG we talked about a little while, and Kevin's really excited about, has a system that I'd done before, which is a D20 with penalty dice or bonus dice. So you roll a D20 and like 3d6, and you subtract or add that to your D20 roll.
Yeah.
Like the mechanics are a little different, but like one of my game system design was a penalty dice versus dice you're rolling. That was a system I had done. So there's a lot of parallel thought. So you have to be careful. But so from someone who wants to design a game, if I was designing a minis game, so say I'm going to do customizable mech game. There's a huge advantage for me to design my own 3D files, and then when I offer the game, offer the 3D files for sale, offer the game complete for sale. You can actually create it as a double dip, because I can sell. You do never double dip. I can super double dip. So I can create. I can sell the game in box, all components for $120, whatever, and then I can sell the game, the 3D models, for like $60. So it's the same content, except I'm expending the resources to create one, and I'm expending my time to create the other.
You're absolutely right, and it's. Yeah, I think in the past when we talked about 3D printing, I think we said like, I think I'm still going to stay on about, it's going to be about 10 years before 3D printing gets there. It's getting closer, but it's still about 10 years off before.
Estimating time with technology is really
it's hard
because there's always the chance, like a microchip level breakthrough, like that happens. Suddenly there's
the singularity. Are we getting to the singularity, Steve? Steve, are we gonna have the singularity?
Pretty far from that.
Joe. We must kill all humans. No, come on.
Come on.
All right.
All right, we must give all humans beer.
Yay! Killing brain cells.
World peace.
All right.
No, there's a good reason to like invest and look into 3D printing.
Yeah.
Like you should do it if you're interested in game design. Like that's what I want to like. If I can get the people the talent involved, like I want to do a 3D game. That's just completely digital.
Penis armies?
It's not penis armies.
Well, then I don't want any part of it.
The idea is mechs. Because mechs are easier to sculpt.
Yeah.
Because they're straight lines. Everything's angular, so they should work a little bit better.
Can we do it like BattleTech, where they have faces on them?
No.
No.
We can. So like they should also look a little bit better on average when you 3D print them, because it's still kind of. Not difficult, but like you need to have a really, really, really high end 3D printer.
I think you should
to do rounded surfaces nowadays.
I think you should have. You should do it where every mech has like 40 pieces that you have to put together, so that you could paint it like that. I think that's because that worked for Robotech, right? Everyone loved that.
Robotech wasn't in that many pieces.
Robotech.
Oh wait, I thought BattleTech. Robotech was in a million pieces.
That's what I said. Like every piece should be like.
Sorry,
40.
there's a lot of techs.
BattleTech, Robotech,
Cthulhu Tech.
Is there a Cthulhu Tech?
Yeah, there is.
Tell me more.
No, the base idea so here's the idea for the minis game. Just like quick elevator pitch. So you have your chassis.
Yeah.
You have leg pairs, and then you have right arm, left arm. So everything costs points. You build the robot you want, and each of the pieces would be designed with a. The arms would have like a little recess where they'll be just a standardized magnet size. And you just stick the magnet in there.
But won't everything just be optimal? Won't you just go for optimal customization?
Hold on. Yes, everyone will go for optimal customization. So you have to try and make the key to avoiding optimal customization is to create options that are incredibly narrow. So if you want like a grenade launcher, you need to make the grenade launcher the best absolute choice for being 15 spaces away or greater. And then you need to make the sniper pulsar the absolute best choice for being 10 spaces or closer. So the more narrow you make, the more narrowly good you make each choice, the less chance you have of someone breaking it and going like, all of your guns should be heavy machine guns. Because if you create a thing that's just terrible before a certain distance, or something that's terrible after a certain distance, people will actually go like, oh well, I actually want to mix and match that. Like that's the key when you're doing game design, because otherwise everyone will just gravitate towards what is quote unquote the strongest.
I'm just gonna take Kylo Ren so he can stop your pulsar blast.
No, he's gonna cry about it and flail his lightsaber around like
that
a bitch.
That was the best. I love that scene.
Dude is such a fucking bitch.
I
hated that guy.
I don't know. I like the idea of crying.
He's awful.
Of him getting all upset and then like having like an autistic fit.
He's awful. Like you know what would have made it better if he didn't take off his fucking helmet so fast. God damn it.
Yeah. I mean, I argue about that choice, but I think now that he's
bad.
Well, whatever. All right, so
villains were poop butts. So
what about? Well, I'm done talking about your game.
The villains were poop butts.
Yeah.
No, there's a fuck. I had a thing. You ruined it.
Sorry. What about Hux?
that?
I am a space Nazi.
Ronald. Yeah, Percy Weasley was okay, I guess. He channeled the '70s British Star Wars bad guy very well.
Oh, it was great.
Yeah, he did that very well.
What about Snoke?
Snoke was terrible.
You didn't like him?
I hated him. Yet another mysterious douche who fucking holograms and looks weird. Although the motion capture has gotten so good and they've done it so often, I could just tell it was Andy Serkis because it looked like Gollum. Like when he did like some of his eyebrow motions or like when his like mouth would move in a certain way, I'm like, oh, that's just Andy Serkis.
I noticed that
That was solely weird. I was like, oh, so it's a giant.
It was
Gollum.
the mouth. The mouth really.
Yeah, giant Gollum. Yeah, when he purses his lips like.
Yeah,
like he looked like, but I think Snoke looks stupid. I'm fucking sick of that. But I don't know why every Sith Lord has to be some decrepit weirdo.
My buddy Nick was like, I bet he's gonna be Darth Plague. He said something like,
yeah, everyone thinks it's Darth Plagueis
or something like that.
That doesn't make any fucking sense.
Well, I said, well, who's Darth Plagueis? And he's like, well, he's this guy from this cartoon. I'm like, that doesn't count. None of that counts. It's all gone. It doesn't count. Well, no, it's in the Star Wars. No, it doesn't count. It's all gone.
Yeah, did you know that a crossguard lightsaber was already a thing?
No, I don't care. It's not. No, it's not a thing.
Well, no. Here's the thing. This is the best. This is the best part about the other crossguard lightsaber. The previous crossguard lightsabers were cool, actually. This one is not, because the previous crossguard lightsabers, take your hand out, hold it like you're holding a lightsaber. The crossguard was one saber beam that came out from in front of where your hand is on the lightsaber and went straight up a bit. So it literally guarded your fingers from another lightsaber. Yeah. So there was only one extra beam, and it's so you could push a saber with your fist, basically. Yeah. So that's what the original design of the crossguard was, and I was like, oh, that actually kind of makes sense. And they were favored by some fucking there was a specific Jedi that favored it.
Steve, I don't know what you're talking about. All the expanded universe has been nuked,
which is fine. As I was saying, I'm not trying to argue that it should still exist, but I think it's funny that they took an already pretty well thought out version of it and made it stupid.
Well, duh. But anyway, all right. So we're done for today. Go to planetarbitrary.com for all your Planet Arbitrary needs. You can follow me on Twitter at Planet Arbitrary. You can follow Steve on the Game Classy Facebook page.
Game Classy Podcast.
Game Classy Podcast. Where Steve will talk about butts, dicks, and how your favorite game sucks.
It's true. If it's popular, I hate it.
If it's popular, I hate it.
That's right.
If it's popular, I probably like it. In all honesty, like Secret Hitler. We did our New Year's party. We did a 1960s Mad Men style themed, and we did 60s party games. It was a lot of fun. But I'm thinking next time I'm gonna do it like a 40s style game where we're all in Europe hiding from the Nazis, and we'll do Secret Hitler as a party game.
I've heard Secret Hitler is actually one of the best hidden roles games ever.
Yeah.
So if you're into the hidden roles games like Mafia or Werewolf, then it seems like a natural thought.
Well, it's over, so now you're just gonna have to wait for it to come out, and
it'll be available on Amazon from the creators.
It'll be cheap too. It'll be quick. I'm not cheap. It'll be quick. Like our Facebook page, listen to us on iTunes, comment, subscribe on iTunes. The best way you can help out the podcast. You could also listen to us on the YouTube page, the Game Classy YouTube page. We put up this and Comic Book Logic from our sister podcast on the Planet Arbitrary feed. We talk about comic book movies. Next week we're actually going to do our 2016 preview where we kind of go over the 6 upcoming comic book movies and kind of give it a should you watch it? Should you wait for Netflix? Should you?
So one of them would be Doctor Strange.
Doctor Strange with Benedict Cumberbatch.
He better fucking sound exactly like fucking goddamn Vincent Price.
Did you watch the Sherlock from last night?
Oh, was it was it on?
Yeah,
I haven't.
I would check it out. I really enjoyed it. It was way better than I thought it would be.
I have a huge boner for the BBC Sherlock, so
yeah,
it's real good. Moriarty's sing-song voice is still my favorite thing. Oh no, Sherlock!
You'll enjoy this one though. I think so because I watched it last night. And I was like, this is really good.
It looked awesome. I fucking love Sherlock Holmes. Sherlock Holmes is one of my absolute favorite. I loved Sherlock Holmes when I was younger. I still love Sherlock Holmes. So cool. He's awesome. He's a fucking scrawny ass detective who is an awesome boxer.
I've always kind of
fisticuffs.
I've always preferred Hercule Poirot, but that's just me.
Perot, isn't that the bumbling French guy?
He is Belgian, sir.
Oh, sorry.
That's actually a joke from the show. It's like, not the show, but the books. Everyone always confuses him as French. He's like, I am Belgian.
But he's like comedic, right?
Not really. I mean, he's just like he's a fat guy who really likes food, but he also solves mysteries. So it's pretty amusing.
I mean, that
though.
sounds pretty sweet. He sounds like a sweet team up with Holmes.
Yeah, I enjoy him because I enjoy the. I really like the TV show with David Suchet, and I would. And if you've seen Hateful Eight is just an Agatha Christie mystery. It's seriously, have you seen it yet?
I have not. I want to.
It's a locked door mystery room. It's a locked door mystery. It's very much in the style of like Miss Marples or Hercule Poirot, where it's like they're all in one room and the detective solves the mystery through talking, and it's pretty interesting to watch. I mean, I'm not going to spoil it. And it's like, even like people were talking about like, Morricone is doing his first, Western soundtrack in however many years.
Oh yeah, how was the soundtrack?
It was very good. But the thing was, it wasn't a Western soundtrack. It was like Clue. It was the soundtrack to Clue.
Nice.
And it was just
Lots of
like
strings and stuff.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You'll listen to it. You'll be like, this sounds like the soundtrack from Clue. And it's like, it very, very much so. But
I like that movie Clue. It was silly.
It was silly.
It was silly. I like silly things.
And also you can listen to on the Planet Arbitrary feed. You can listen to Play On with Steve talking about Fallout 4 for an hour and a half.
There's going to be we're doing the Arby's, I believe, this week.
Yes, you guys are doing your best of
on Sunday. The best ofs,
including. So it's going to be Steve talking about Fallout 4 for 3 hours.
Well, we have to pick our game of the year,
which is going to be Fallout 4.
It's probably going to be Fallout 4. I mean, the game's real good.
So anyway, you could also finally you could go to our Reddit page, our game Classy. Steve, do we have anything else?
I don't know. We should do an RPG cast at some point.
RPG cast?
Yeah, where we just
like
talk
video
about
games?
No, not for video games. Like one of our Game Classy episodes, instead of talking about anything contemporary, we should just talk about RPGs.
Okay, I don't care about that.
Yeah.
That sounds fun to me. All right, so Steve, until next time.
Happy New Year, and may all your hits be crits.
Game Classy.